Mic check one. Mic check one. Okay, here we go. What's up, guys? And that is the one that I want. All right. So we are back again, and I'm still testing. I got a whole presentation for you tonight, according to the title that you can read there, hopefully. And I don't know what is up. I'm still not pulling in the audio from the computer. So when I do the stream deck like that, it's coming through the whoops. I got to turn down my phone here. Okay, so when the mic is off, apparently the audio does not work. So if I've got music playing like this, and then I cut off the mic, then I turn on the mic and it's only pulling in the music from the microphone. So that's discouraging, but I'm going to figure that out. All right. So how many people do we have in here? One? Okay, so when the mic is off, apparently the audio. Okay. Let me get my notes up here. There we go. All right. So tonight we're going to go through this quick presentation. I got my notes in front of me. A much better setup than what I had before. Recording just straight through YouTube. It was like really ugly, very ugly, visually, very ugly, not very visually enjoyable. Definitely not much better now. Big improvement, major improvement. We're going to talk about this whole censorship thing. I think I can help you guys understand what's going on. And you're going to want to share this because people don't talk about this. So if you know folks that are out there that are really scared about the censorship thing and they believe that Donald Trump is a dictator and that this is, all the special words that they use, dictatorship, Nazi, fascist, all of that good stuff. There's people with a really, really serious, real fear of us losing our rights to free speech. And this is going to help those people out because we're going to talk about the last 4 or 5 years, things that went on, and then what's going on today. And I think you're going to be pretty surprised when you think about some of what I'm going to tell you. Also, I don't have the ability to see the comments yet, so I don't know if you're commenting without looking over at the phone. So I'm going to check with the phone every now and then and see who is here. We don't have that many people on the stream. Caroline is here, so hello, Caroline. Yay! Glad you're here. Let me know what you think about this. Okay, censorship, free speech. There are a lot of people who are liberals, those that don't appreciate Donald Trump. We can say these are the people that have TDS, Trump derangement syndrome, where they despise Donald Trump and they can't stand life in the United States while Donald Trump is the president. It just rubs them the wrong way. So Jimmy Kimmel makes his comments, and Jimmy Kimmel gets thrown off the air by Disney's decision. And then the left goes crazy, and they said that it was the dictator, Donald Trump, that gave the dictate to ban him, to take away his free speech. But now he's back on the air. And then we notice that the stations, the local stations, the company that is a subsidiary of Disney, it's the stations that are choosing to still preempt his broadcast. So in other words, it wasn't the government that made that decision, right? It was the local stations that made this decision. But the same people that are very upset, and it doesn't matter that the local stations made the decision, they're still going to believe that it comes from the dictate from Donald Trump. Why they're still refusing to air the show, even though Disney said that they wanted to put him back on because they were too afraid of upsetting people in such a tumultuous time. So we're just going to bend over and let him come back on air. So that's not enough for them to understand that, all right, this was not an action from the government. Now, the same people who are crying free speech, the dictator has taken away Jimmy Kimmel. Okay. Let's think back when Roseanne Barr was kicked off of everything. She was kicked off on everything and branded as a racist. You all remember that. But the same people who were complaining about Jimmy Kimmel, they cheered that on. They cheered it on. They were so happy. And you can go down a long list of people that have been run off of social media over the years that the same folks that are complaining about Jimmy Kimmel seem to have forgotten about. They need to think about what happened to Dave Chappelle. They need to think about Tucker Carlson, who got fired from Fox. Okay. So how is it that this is any different when we had a right-leaning news company, news station, Fox News, firing Tucker Carlson? Tucker Carlson got thrown off of 3 different networks, and they cheered it. They were happy. They were jubilant that Tucker Carlson was removed from the air. Now, during the time after, I guess, was it after Donald Trump lost to Biden? there was some interesting things that happened that we seem to have forgotten. Do you remember when Donald Trump was banned from Twitter, banned from Facebook, and banned from YouTube, and how Kamala Harris and everyone else, Biden, they all said that it was necessary to prevent him from being on any social media because he was putting out dangerous rhetoric. And for the safety of the country, they had to ban him because free speech doesn't include violent rhetoric. Do we remember that? So everyone cheered it on. Everyone on the left, they cheered that on. But now they're saying free speech is being denied. Now, here's a very interesting thing. Remember when COVID hit, and I can say COVID now on YouTube because they're finally unbanning certain things. There was just a recent action by the government that pretty much gave YouTube the green light to allow a bunch of content creators back on who were previously banned. And we find out that it's not really YouTube that was the evil one. It was coming from the Biden administration, why certain people were being banned and when certain words were being banned. So think back into the year 2020. Trump is out of office. Here comes Biden. Do you remember the things that you could not post online? First, we'll start with election denial. If you posted anything on YouTube or Facebook about the election being stolen from Donald Trump and cheating going on, if you posted about what happened in the state of Georgia when they got rid of all of those image documents after destroying all of those paper ballots, or destroying the images, actually, they got rid of all of the evidence, and it has been unsolved to this day. If you spoke about that, your post got banned. Anything about election denying, and you were out of there. Now, do you also remember what would happen to you if you posted about COVID and the vaccine? Your post would immediately get taken down on Facebook. I remember several times trying to make a post about COVID on Facebook, only to have that message banned and getting a warning from Facebook. I even sent a private message using Facebook Messenger that got deleted, and I got a message back stating that I could not use Facebook Messenger to disseminate misinformation. Okay, so that was not a result of Facebook's doing. That actually, we're finding out now, that came from the president. Joe Biden is the one who handed down the dictate to Mark Zuckerberg in order to ban people, stating that if people are talking about election denial, if people are speaking out against the vaccine, against COVID, or talking about not taking the vaccine, you are to remove those posts from the platform. Same thing happened with Twitter before Elon Musk bought Twitter. Do you remember all those people that got banned for speaking on Twitter about the things that Joe Biden said that you were not allowed to speak on? Do you remember that? Also, what other things were there? There were several different topics. Post in the comments if you remember a topic besides COVID and besides election denial. Well, there's one, January 6th. You could not post about that without getting banned from Facebook. So all along, we thought it was the evil people from Alphabet Inc., the owners of YouTube. We thought it was purely Mark Zuckerberg, but that came from the Biden administration. It was Joe Biden, or at least his handlers. They were putting out these dictates. Now, fast forward to today. There's a bunch of people who think that President Trump is a dictator, and they're afraid. And like I mentioned, you've got serious fear that their free speech is going to be taken away, which is just really confounding. And now we're going to have another No Kings protest in October. We already had the No Kings protest a few months ago, and everybody marched and paraded around the state capitals around the United States and in the big cities to protest against the king because they claim that Donald Trump is acting like a king because he's a dictator. Now, forget the fact that the court actions all over the United States, federal court actions, which were reversing many of his decisions, some that got upheld, some that got reversed by the Supreme Court. Forget the fact that that's happened, but he's a king, right? Forget the fact that he still needs to have a certain amount of votes to pass the big, beautiful bill, but he's a king. So you got all these folks out there protesting about no kings when we don't have any evidence that Donald Trump even has the same amount of power that the previous president had. Okay, think about that. In fact, while they claim that he is a king and a dictator who is taking away free speech, they rage post every day on Facebook, making the most outrageous claims, falsehoods, passing on false memes. And I talked about a few of the false memes. Let me just pull up one. I can show you one of them. I did the report on this one, or this one's coming up. This is a false meme, something that is getting smeared out there on Facebook, disseminated all over Facebook by radical leftists. There was another one. Let's see. Is it this one? Nope. I'm sorry. Where is the other one? There was another one I just did a report on. Is it this? Yeah, there it is. This is another one. False information pushed out there on Facebook. Okay. So you got false memes, you got conspiracy theories, and everything else that denigrates the president, denigrates the administration, and pushes false information. But they're allowed to do that. But back when Biden was the president, if you mentioned anything about COVID, you were banned. Now, let's take it even a step further. I had done another video. I talked about how you got the rage posting with the false information and the false memes, but there are a couple other memes that have been propagating on Facebook by the radical leftists since before the election. One of them says, "Why doesn't someone just do it?" All right, that's the first one. And then the second one was, actually, there's three. The second one was, "Someone needs to take one for the team and just get it done." And the third one was 8647. So think about this. Donald Trump's a king, but he has allowed the radical leftists, and it's not just the radicals, it's the majority of leftists, because I've even got someone that is loosely family. Actually, it's my wife's stepbrother's wife, who rage posts on the daily and has posted all three of those things constantly ever since before the election. So they're allowed to advocate for unaliving Donald Trump before he could even run. And we saw what happened in Butler. And then we turn around, we saw what happened at Mar-a-Lago on the golf course. In fact, that guy was in court today and tried to end his life with an ink pen to the neck once they told him that he was going to basically have like life imprisonment. So they were putting out these memes during the time that the attempt finally happened in Pennsylvania. Now, after that attempt, they continued to push these memes. And then another attempt happened. They continue to push the memes. They continue to post 8647. And then when I called some of the people out on it, then they would backpedal. And they would say, "Oh, well, 8647 just means remove him. It doesn't mean that." And then I'm like, "Oh, really?" So for months, you guys have been posting someone needs to take one for the team and just get it done. And also, why doesn't someone just do it? And then you're going to turn around and tell me that 8647 means just remove the president. Right. I guess we're supposed to be stupid. Now, consider all of that. You got the king up there, but you're allowed to rage post on Facebook and whatever social media platform that you want, calling for the assassination of the president and the assassination of Elon Musk and anyone else. I mean, it's not just been the president. You got assassination of the president, Elon Musk. There's been so many out there, you probably can't name them all. But they are actually pushing for people to take things to the extreme until we see stuff like, well, after the two attempts on Donald Trump, and then the successful attempt with Charlie Kirk, right? But Donald Trump is a dictator and he's taking away your free speech. Imagine that. Imagine that. You get to rage post until people start to lose their lives, and you're still allowed that behavior, but you claim that there's a king and that you don't have free speech. And so why do we see this happening? Why do we see it happening? Well, two things. Thing number one, these people are sick and they don't know it. They have been infected by a mind virus. They've been assimilated. They've been radicalized. And what that means is the belief system is so strong, whatever dictates and information that comes from the cult leader of the Democratic radical left, they're going to experience that as reality. Okay. So they actually think that you have Adolf Hitler in office. So if this is 1944 and somebody gets rid of Adolf Hitler, well, that's a good thing because of what he did. 6 million people lost their lives, right? And so that's the mindset. They think, because they've been brainwashed to believe from the cult leader, that Donald Trump is the equivalent of Hitler. And so that's why you get those memes calling for him to be assassinated. And they think it's okay because they've been brainwashed to believe that he's on the same level as Adolf Hitler, which is sad. Okay. So that's one thing. And then the other thing is you don't just have a balance of power here. There's one it's kind of a meme. It's an idea that both sides are dangerous. Both sides are bad. Both sides need to tone down the political rhetoric. Political lawfare happens on both sides. Well, that isn't true. And so what really happens is one side has a heaping helping of insidious evil, more so than the other side. And so when we look at both situations, look at history, okay? When the real dictator was in charge, and that was Joe Biden or the people that were using him as a puppet, you did not have free speech, okay? And then when the adversary gets into office, they projected, well, we knew that we had control over the whole country, so let's project and let's accuse the guy who stole away our dictatorship and let's accuse him of being a dictator. And so then Donald Trump comes into office and allows rage posting on a daily basis across all social media, even calling for people's lives to be ended. So that is your proof that there is an imbalance, and the both sides is a lie. One is a lot more evil than the other. The radical Democrat left is a lot more evil than the rhinos and the MAGAs and whatever, what have you, the seriously far right conservative people. And that's your proof. Look at what is being allowed today compared to what was not allowed and how strict that government control was on free speech in the year 2020 all the way through 2024. And there's your answer. And so we can't argue and fight with these people that think that Trump is a dictator, because you're not going to get through their belief system. They're brainwashed. They're done. They're gone. And the only way that they are going to see the light or come out of that is by self-discovery. They're going to have to reason through it themselves. It's just like if somebody joins the Moonies, they're in a cult, and you try to save them from that cult, you're not going to convince them. They have to experience self-realization. All right. Because the only way that you're going to get them out of the cult is to kidnap them and hold them hostage and constantly deprogram, like hold them hostage for several months and deprogram them. And that's how some people deal with a family member who has been lost with the cult. You're never going to get them out by arguing. They have to physically kidnap them and hold them hostage. They have to lock them up and go through several days or sometimes weeks to months of deprogramming. Well, it's the same thing with radical leftists. You are sitting up arguing with these people, and it's to no avail, because the only way that you're going to solve that is if you kidnap them and run them through a deprogramming phase where they cannot escape, and you can't do that. And so you need to settle down, having arguments, because you're not arguing with logical, reasonable people. You're arguing with people that have been brainwashed by a political cult. Okay. And that's why you're not going to see me wearing a red hat or a blue hat. I'm not wearing a MAGA t-shirt. I'm not wearing, definitely not wearing anything from the Democratic side. All right. I used to be a card carrying Democrat, and then I was a card carrying Republican, and now I'm not fooling with that because it's just too dangerous. Even though I do think that the Democrats are a lot more nefarious than the Republicans. Okay. But the thing is this, I'm enjoying an independent life with a free mind where I refuse to be brainwashed and controlled by anyone. I'm trying to look here and see what these comments are saying. Yes, okay. Caroline agrees with me. Thank you very much. And it's just dangerous to get sunk into this whole mindset of being completely controlled and lost in the political, what would you call it? The political abyss. It's just too dangerous. Just too dangerous. Well, anyway, I have a question for you. Do you think it's possible to talk sense into people's head and argue with those who rage post on Facebook? That's question number one. Or do you actually like disagree with me that these people are brainwashed and that you would have to kidnap them and put them through deprogramming? Question number two. After I explained our history from the last presidency, do you see things in a different light now? Now that I refreshed your memory of what went on while Biden was in charge during that time where we could not post anything about election denial or COVID. And do you think we have more freedoms today, or are we under an evil dictator who doesn't allow free speech? That's what I want to know. I want you guys to post that in the comments. And thank you very much for watching. I wish my stream deck worked. Let me put a round of applause. Thank you for being here. There's the round of applause. And I think it's only coming through the microphone. It's not working right. And I'm going to have to do some more fiddling with the controls and everything. There's another comment here. Let me see what this other comment says. Where to put my glasses? And then I'm going to end it up. Tony Joy says that she's here in the bushes. That's great. Just had a conversation yesterday with your daughter. I want to deprogram some of her brainwashed thoughts. She has a 4.3 GPA. Okay, so Tony Joy, where is she in school? Where is she in school? And let me share something with you. I had to constantly stay on my kids while they were in college because they were bombarded by radical leftists while at Missouri State. My son was really getting it hard by Central Missouri University. And to this day, he's kind of he's middle of the road. He has a mild case of TDS. But he doesn't believe in political parties. And then the youngest two went to Mizzou, and I really had to stick with them because they were getting hit every day with the radical leftist mind virus stuff, the garbage. But fortunately, both of them were able to resist it. So I would like to know more about that, where she is in school, and maybe what some of the stuff is that, okay, SIUE. I got a niece that just graduated from SIUE, and now she's in Chicago and getting her master's degree at Chicago University. So thank you, Caroline. It only came through the dadgum mic. Stupid dadgum thing. I tell you what, it's such a pain in the rear end because I have everything routed in OBS to go through the computer audio, but it just doesn't work. It's just not working. And I don't know why that's going on. So I'm going to have to do some more tweaking. And see, when I do this, when I put the round of applause, I'm showing that the audio mixer on OBS is picking it up through the computer, but it's not. So anyway, I'll have to fool around with that more. That's all I've got for this one. I'm going to get to the body shop and see on this one. This is restreaming. It's just like Stream Deck or StreamYard rather. And I might try StreamYard again, but I like this one better actually. But you can do something like this. I can put the little see in the next stream thing. I can turn that on and off. It has a few features, but basically I'm going to run everything from right here in OBS. And so I can flip to different backgrounds. I can put my Chicago background up. I can go to the desktop and then do my window capture. And then I can pick one of these windows. Let's say if I wanted to go to even like Discord, or let's just pull this one up. Oh, that's a desktop there. Never mind. Well, whatever the case, I can control things a lot easier. And then I can use all of my little virtual news sets. This is one of my favorite ones, and I got a whole bunch of different ones. I can use those, and it's pretty cool. So we only have 3 views. I don't know why so many people came in on the last live stream. I had like 11 at the max, and people were really getting involved in the conversation. And then I go to do a real presentation and only have 3 viewers, but that's the way it goes. So anyhow, that is all I've got for this one. Thanks for being here. I'm going to see y'all on the next one. Share this one with a friend. Hit the like button. Subscribe if you have not. And we'll see y'all later. Peace out.